All right, Steve, as you know, the tragic Amtrak derailment that has left 7 dead and more than 200 injured and still 12 missing is becoming a divisive issue on Capitol Hill almost immediately as Democrats are using the accident to push for increased funding for Amtrak.
I will say as a general matter that since, his first weeks in office, the president has been a leading advocate, obviously with the strong support and input of the vice president, in investing in our infrastructure.
This is a wake-up call. It's a reminder of how much we depend on our mass transit, how much we depend on our roads and bridges.
So Democrats immediately wanted more money, but was funding the cause of the accident? Joining us right now is a guy who's got respect on both sides for what he can do with dollars and cents. Chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Representative Paul Ryan, chairman of that committee. All right, Chairman, welcome back. Your response to what happened yesterday on the floor.
Well, good morning, guys. Well, what happened yesterday was we need to find out what went wrong with Amtrak before jumping to conclusions and trying to doubling spending on government programs. Earlier reports are that this was human error to begin with. So I think before we rush to judgment and try doubling the size of government programs, let's just cool down and figure out what happened and how to prevent these things from happening again. Human error is already what we find was involved. And by the way, Congress already authorized and mandated that these sort of speed control systems be put in place. Of course, it wasn't put in place here at this time.
Did you fund it?
Yes, yeah, we already passed an Amtrak funding bill, an authorization bill earlier this year, and the appropriations process is working its way through right now.
So were you surprised this debate came out so quick, hours after this horrific crash?
Yeah, look, the way I look at this is you shouldn't make these things political hot potatoes. You shouldn't use tragedies as excuses to simply double funding without even looking at the facts and letting the investigations take their course. So I think hopefully cooler heads can prevail and people won't seize on political opportunities out of tragedies like this.
Do you echo some of the concern about our infrastructure? And if so, how would you start to rebuild it?
Well, we're in the middle of that debate right now on highways, and the Highway Trust Fund actually goes bankrupt by the end of this month. So we're in the middle of, for highways, this isn't a rail thing as much. We're figuring out exactly how we can get a long-term highway financing bill done, and that's something that we're working on here in the Ways and Means Committee. And that's a debate we're going to have, and we're going to have to come up with a solution by the end of the summer to get a long-term highway financing bill, because yes, we do believe that infrastructure is vitally important for America. We're not going to be raising people's gas taxes, though. We think we can do better by saving more money, being more efficient, and finding other ways of financing our crumbling infrastructure.
All right, Chairman, let's move on, and let's talk about something that's very unique over the last 6 years. Democrats fighting with Democrats fighting with the president over a trade bill, and the president calling on leaders like you and Mitch McConnell and others to help him pass trade authority with Asia. Tell us about what brought the Democrats apart and why they might be coming together.
Well, the Democrats obviously dealt him a huge defeat the other day, but I think they came back, and some Democrats who believe in trade now have decided to end the filibuster and work with Republicans to get this done. Here's the deal. If we don't write the rules for the global economy, particularly in Asia, then China will, and that is not good for us. Our goal with these trade agreements is to give Americans more access to markets so we can make more things in America and sell them abroad. This is about jobs. This is about higher incomes. This is about America getting fair trade deals for our workers. And there's a mistaken notion that Trade Promotion Authority gives the president some kind of authority and power. It's actually quite the opposite. What we have done here is we are binding the president and the administration to Congress's will. We're saying here's how transparency is going to work. The American people need to see these agreements for at least 60 days before the president can even sign an agreement and send it to Capitol Hill. And you have to have an agreement that fits Congress's objectives. And so that's the debate we're having right now. It's about jobs. It's about America leading. And finally, we have a few Democrats who decided to help us.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what changes when the vote goes up, if in fact the president is rescued here by Republicans overall. Now, I want to bring up the last topic, something you're passionate about and been working on quietly, and that's the war on poverty. You're finding out about it. Listen to the president speaking about it yesterday.
There's a fairness issue involved here. And by the way, if we were able to close that loophole, I can now invest in early childhood education that will make a difference. And if we can't ask from society's lottery winners to just make that modest investment, then really this conversation is for show. If we can't ask that much.
So success is a matter of hitting the lottery. Your reaction to the president's philosophy?
It's an antithetical to the American idea, which is work hard, play by the rules, get ahead, be successful. We do not want to pit Americans against each other. We don't want to divide people against each other so that government can be more powerful and decide how to redistribute success. That is not the philosophy of the founding of this country, what made this country great in the first place. So look, I wish he would put the progressive ideology aside and work with us on finding more effective ways at fighting poverty by respecting local communities, by removing barriers to work, by getting people from welfare to work so that they can get jobs and get on their feet. That's the kind of things that we're working on. And so I'm hoping that cooler heads can prevail, the liberal ideology can be pushed aside, because it hasn't been working, by the way, so that we can actually go with what works to really get people out of poverty.
Like your mentor, Jack Kemp, you're doing some great work, especially the last couple of years on the inner city on poverty and doing things like this. We'd like to have you back just to talk about that and some of the conclusions you've come to. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us for this lightning round of 5 minutes. Appreciate it.
You bet. Take care, Brian.
All right.